Alright, procedures of committees unfinished business. One in general. A1A rule of House or the rule of the subcommittee. The subcommittees are as far as applicable to each subcommittee with the part of the committee subject with the authority with the direction of the committee with the rules so far as applicable in a committee or subcommittee. A motion for the reshuffle of the day with the day recess subject with the call of the chair within 24 hours shall be privilege, and a motion to dispense with the first reading of and in full of the bill with the resolution shall be privilege and with the printed copies available. A motion according privilege under this with subparagraph shall be decided without debate. Each committee may conduct any time such investigation study with the considered with the necessary with the appropriate with the extra with the responsibility under Rule 10. Such adoption expenses resolution required with the clause 6 of the Rule 10. Each committee may incur with the expense with including travel expense with the connection, such investigation study with the proposed investigation, oversight of the report with the consider of the read with the committee if it has been available to the members for at least 24 hours, excluding Saturday, Sunday, legal holidays, except for the House and when the session of the such of the day with the report investigation study with the conducted jointly. More than one committee may be filled jointly, provided each of the committee with comply with the independently all of the requirements approved with the following report with the after adjournment of the Sunday with the D with the last regular session of the Congress, investigating oversight with the report with the may be filed with the clerk with it any time provided with the member who give the timely notice with intention to file supplemental minority additional dissenting views shall be entitled with not less than 7 calendar days and on which submits the such view with the inclusion in the report. Each committee may have printed with the bound such testimony with the under the tab that may present with a hearing held with the committee and the subcommittee. All copies of stenographic service if the transcripts connected to the meeting of the hearing of the public committee shall be paid with the applicable with the grounds of the hours that are described in the Class 1K1 of Rule 10. No matter January 2nd of the odd number of the year of the committee shall submit to the House of the report on the activities show for the committee with the show for the report shall include separate sections summarize legislation oversight of the activities show for the committee under the rule of the Rule 10 during the Congress of some of the authorization oversight plans submitted by the committee under Clause 2D of the Rule 10. Some of the action for the taken with the recommendations made with respect to the authorization oversight plan specified by the subdivision B. D is some of the additional oversight of the activity undertaken by the committee with the recommendations made, the action of the taken thereon. The E, the delineation of any of the hearings held with pursuant to clause 2 OP and Q of this rule after the adjournment and sent with the after the regular session of the Congress and after the December 15th, even number of the year of whichever occurs first of the chair of the committee may file with a report describing the paragraph 1 with the clerk at any time without approval with the committee provided. A, the copy of the report is available to each of the members of the committee for at least 7 calendar days. B, the report include with a supplemental minority additional dissenting views submitted to the member of the committee. Adoption of written rules. Each standing committee shall adopt with the written rules governing its procedures, such as shall adopt with the meeting with it is open to the public and left of the committee at the end of the open shall with the quorum present with the term of the record roll with all of the part of the meeting over the day with it should be closed with the public may not be inconsistent with the rules of the House with the provisions of the law having force effective with the rules of the House shall in any event incorporate all of the succeeding provisions of this clause to the extent applicable and should include the provision governed with the implementation clause for the provided with the paragraph F of the such clause. Each of the committee should make its rule of the public available the electronic form of the submitted with the such for the rule publication congressional record not later than 60 days after the chair of the committee is elected. Each of the odd number of the year committee may adopt the rule providing with the chair of the meeting directive that offering with a motion under clause 1 of the Rule 12 whenever the chair of the conservative is appropriate. Alright, regular meeting day with each of the standing committees shall have the regular meeting day with the conduct of the business of which shall be not less frequent than monthly. Each committee shall meet with the consideration of the bill resolution pending before the committee with the transaction of the committee business on all regular meeting day fixed of the committee with the notice of the given pursuant to paragraph G3. Additional and special meeting chair of each of the standing committee may call the committee with the chair of the committee instead of the necessary additional special meetings of the committee with the consideration of the bill resolution pending before the committee with the conduct of the other committee business subject to the such rule the committee may adopt. The committee shall meet this for such purposes only call with the chair of the 3 or more members of the standing of the committee may file with the office of the committee with a written request of the chair of the call of a special meeting of the committee. Such request shall specify the measures may have to be considered immediately upon filing of the request. Clerk of the committee shall notify the chair of the filing of the request. The chair does not be requested a special meeting within 3 calendar days after the filing of the request held with 7 calendar days after the filing of the request. Majority of the members of the committee may file with the officers of the committee the written notice of the special meeting of the committee will be held. The written notice shall be specified the date and hour and special meeting and the measures of the matter to be considered. The committee shall be on that day of the hour immediately upon the filing notice of the clerk of the committee shall notify all of the members of the subcommittee so that this whole meeting will be held and inform them of its date and hour expenditure for the matter to be considered. The trust notice shall also be made publicly available on electronic form shall be deemed as for the paragraphs G3A2 and only with the measure of the matter specified in that notice may be considered at the special meeting. Temporary absence of the chair of the member of the majority party of each of the standing committee, subcommittee thereof shall be designated by chair of the full committee as the vice chair of the committee and subcommittee. In the case may be, these shall preside during the absence of the chair of any meeting, and if the chair and the vice chair of the committee and or the subcommittee are not present at any of the meeting of the committee and subcommittee, the ranking majority member who is present shall preside at the meeting. Alright, committee records. Each committee shall keep a complete record of all of the committee actions, shall include with the case of the meeting, with a hearing, with a transcript, with a substantial verbatim account, with the remarks actually made during the proceeding, with the subject only, with the technical, grammatically, and typographical corrections authorized by the person making the remarks involved with the record. Votes on any of the question with the record vote is taken with except for the provided in item 2 with the subsection of the paragraph K7, and the result of each of the stuff of the record shall be made publicly available with electronic form within 48 hours. Stuff of the record vote information available shall include with the description of the amendment of the motion, order with the other proposition, with the name of each of the member voting for, each of the member voting against such amendment, motion, order, proposed proposition, and with the names of those members with the name of the committee present but not voting, and the result of any of the record vote taken in the executive session of the committee on the ethics may be made publicly available without any affirmative vote on the majority of the members of the committee, except for the provided in subdivision B. All of the committee record, including hearing data, charts, and files, shall be kept separate and distinct from the congressional office. The record of the members serving as the chair of the such record shall be the property of the House. Each member of the delegate of the resident commissioner shall have the access thereto. Member, delegate, resident commissioner of the other than members of the committee on the ethics may not have access to the records of the committee. Respect for the conduct of the member, delegated, resident commissioner, officer of the employee of the House without specific prior of the permission of the committee. Each committee shall include in its rules standard availability of the records completed with the complete committee delivered to the archive of the United States under the Rule 12 of such standard shall specify the procedure or the committee under Clause 3B3 of the Clause 4B of the Rule 12, including requirement of the non-availability of the record period, a long time period otherwise applicable under the rule shall be approved by the vote of the committee. Each committee shall make its publication available in electronic form to the maximum extent feasible, to the maximum extent practicable, and such committee provide audio-video coverage of each of the hearing and meeting of the transaction business in a manner that allow the public to easily listen to and view proceedings with the maintaining the records and such a coverage in a manner that easily accessible to the public not later than 24 hours after the adoption with any of the amendment, 40 hours after the disposition, withdrawal, and any other amendment to the measure and matter that is considered by the committee, and of the chair of the subcommittee shall be the cause of the text of each of the amendment to be made publicly available in electronic form. Prohibition against proxy voting. Voting member of the committee and subcommittee with respect to any of the measure matter of the may not be cast by proxy. Open meetings and hearings. Each meeting with a transcript of the business include with the markup of the legislative and handing of the committee, subcommittee thereof, other than the committee of the ethics within the subcommittee and its subcommittees shall be open to the public, including with the radio, television, still photography coverage, except for the when the committee and subcommittee is open session. The majority of the president determines by the record vote all of the part of the remainder over the meeting of the day shall be the executive session because of the closure of the matters to be considered would be in danger of the national security, would be compromised of the sensitive law enforcement information, would intend to defame the degree of the incriminate any of the person otherwise would violate the law of the rules of the House, person other than the members of the committee, such as the non-committee members, delegates, resident commissioners, or congressional staff of the department and representative of the committee may authorize, may not, the president of the business markup session that is held with the executive session with the subparagraph that does not apply with the open committee hearing with which are governed in clause of the 4A1 of the Rule 10 and subparagraph 2 with each of the hearing with conducted by the committee, subcommittee other than the committee of the ethics with the subcommittee shall be the public, including the radio, television, shall the photography coverage except when the committee and subcommittee is open for the session when the majority president determines by the record voting all of the party over the remainder of that hearing on the day shall be declared with the public disclosure shall be closed to the public because of the disclosure of the theft of no evidence of the man of the would in danger for the national security, would compromise sensitive law enforcement information, would violate the law or rule of the House. Nothing would stand with the requirements of subdivision A with the presence of the number of the members required under the rules of the committee for the purpose of taking the testimony of the majority of these present may agree to close the hearing for the sole for the purpose of discussing whether the testimony of the evidence to receive the word in danger of the national security would compromise sensitive law enforcement information, would violate clause 2K5, or agree to close the hearing as provided in Clause 2K5. A member of the delegate resident commissioner may not exclude with the non-participatory attendance at the hearing with the committee of the subcommittee other than the committee of the ethics and subcommittees unless the House with the majority vote authorizes the particular committee and subcommittee for proof of the particular series of the hearings on the particular articles of legislation particular subject for the investigation and close of the hearings of the members. Delegates, resident commissioners by the same procedure specified in some paragraph of the closing hearings to the public committee of the subcommittee may vote with the same procedure described in the subparagraph of the subsequent day of the hearing, except for the committee on the operation committee of the armed services, the committee on the homeland security permanent select committee on intelligence, and the subcommittee thereof that may vote by the same procedure closed up with 5 additional consecutive days of the hearing. Chair of the committee shall announce the date and the place of subject matter of the committee of the hearing, which may not be to commence earlier than 1 week after such notice. The committee meeting of which may not be to commence earlier than the third calendar day, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays, except when the House is in session on such a day with which the members have not notice thereof. The hearing of the meeting to begin sooner than specified the subdivision A in either of the following circumstances, in which the case of the chair of the shall make the announcement specified by the subdivision A at the earliest possible time. The chair of the rank of the chair of the committee with which of the concurrence of the rank of the minority member that determined there is good cause. Committee so that determines the majority of the vote present with the number of the members of the required under the rules of the committee with the transaction business announcement made under the subparagraph shall be published promptly in the Daily Digest made publicly available in election form. This subparagraph, the subparagraph 4 of the shall not apply with the committee on rules at least 24 hours prior to the commencement of the meeting of the markup of the legislation of the time of the announcement under the subparagraph 3b with made within 24 hours before the start of the meeting. The chair of the committee shall cover the text of such legislation to be made with the publicly available electronic form. Each committee shall, to the greatest extent practicable, require the witness who appear before it and submit an advance written statement over the proposed testimony to limit their initial presentation of the committee to brief the summaries thereof. In case of the witness appearing within non-governmental capacity and written statement, proposed estimation shall include the curricular vitatum, the disclosure of federal grants, contract grants, grant payments, origination of the foreign government received during the past 36 months of the witness or by any represented by the witness related to the subject matter of the hearing, and the disclosure of the whether the witness is and the fiduciary included, not limited to, director, officer, the advisor, resident, agent of any of the organization entity that has an interest in the subject matter of the hearing. The disclosure referred to in the subdivision B202 shall include the amount, source of each of the federal grant, subgrant thereof, the contractor or subcontractor thereof, related to the subject matter of the hearing, amount of the country, of the origin of any of the payment of the country related to the subject of the matter of the hearing originating with the foreign government. Such statement will the appropriate actions to protect the privacy and security of the witness shall be made with the publicly available in electronic form 24 hours before the witness appears, if the extent practicable, but no later than 1 day after the witness appears, except the provided subdivision B with the point of order does not lie with respect to measure reported by the committee on the grounds of the hearing. Such measure were not conducted in accordance with the clause. A point of order ground to describe the subdivision A that may be made by the member of the committee that reported on the measure, if such the point of order was timely made but improperly disposed of in the committee. Paragraph does not apply with the hearings of the committee on the operations under the clause 4A of the Rule 10. Quorum requirements. A measurement of the recommendation may not be reported with the committee unless the majority of the committee is actually present. Each committee may fix the number of the members of the council with the quorum with the take of the testimony with the receipt of the evidence, which may not be less than 2. With each committee of the operation committee on the budget, the committee on the ways and means may fix the number of the members of the council with the quorum with the taking an action other than one for which the president of the majority of the committee is otherwise required, which may not be less than 1/3 of the members. Each committee may adopt the rule authorizing the chair of the committee and subcommittee with the postponement of the further proceedings from the recorded vote order with the question with approving the measure of the matter of the adopting of the amendment, resume with the proceedings on postponement with the question any of the time of the reasonable notice, or rule with adopted pursuant with the subparagraph that shall provide with the when proceedings of the resume on postponed question notwithstanding any intervening order with the previous question or underlying proposition shall remain subject to further debate and amendment to the same extent in which the question was postponed. Limitation on committee sittings. Committee may not sit during the joint session of the House and Senate during the reshuffle when the joint meeting of the House and Senate is in progress. calling on the question of the witness, whether the hearing is conducted by the committee on the measure of the matter of the minority members of the committee shall be entitled upon the request to chair of the majority of them from the completion of the hearing to call for the witness, select for the minority, testify with respect for the measure of the matter during at least one day of the hearing thereon. Subdivision B and C, each of the committee shall apply with a 5-minute rule during the question of which witness and hearing until such time that each member of the committee who desires has had an opportunity to question each of the witness. Committee may adopt the rule of the motion pertaining to specify the number of the members of the question of the witness and longer than 5 minutes for the time and extent of the question of the witness under the subdivision shall be equal to the majority of the party, and the minority party may not exceed 1 hour of the aggregated of the committee pay. The committee may adopt the rule on the motion permitting committee to staff with the majority of the minority party members of the question of the witness equally specified periods time for the extent of the question of the witness under the subdivision shall be equal to the majority party of the minority party that may not exceed 1 of the hour in the aggregated. Alright, hearing procedure. The chair of the hearing shall announce the opening statement of the subject of the hearing with a copy of the committee of the rule of the end call for the show to be available to each witness on the request of the witnesses and the hearing may be accompanied by their own counsel for the purpose of advising on the concern of the constitutional rights. Chair may punish breach of the order of the decorum of the professional ethics on the part of the counsel. Censure of the exclusion from the hearings of the committee may cite with the offerender of the House of the contempt. Whenever it is asserted that a member for the committee has the evidence for the testimony of the hearing may be intended to defame or degrade or incriminate any person asserted by the witness or the evidence of the testimony that witness would give at a hearing that may tend to defame or degrade or incriminate the witness. Notwithstanding paragraph G2, with respect to the testimony, evidence shall be presented in executive session if then present with a number of the members so required under the rules of the committee. Purpose of the taking testimony with the committee determines the vote over the majority of those present. And so the evidence testimony may tend to defame, degrade, or incriminate any person. But the committee shall proceed to receive the testimony in open session only if the committee majority being present determines that such evidence and testimony will not tend to defame, degrade, or incriminate any person. In either case, the committee shall afford such of the person opportunity voluntarily to appear as a witness, receive the disposal of the request such of the person subpoenaed additional witnesses. Is that provided in paragraph 5 of the chair shall review the committee shall dispose of the request of subpoenaed additional witnesses. Evidence and testimony taken in executive session preceding conduct of the executive session may be released to the public session only when authorized by the committee and the majority being present. In the discretion of the committee, the witness may be submit brief and pertinent sworn statement written in inclusion in the record. The committee is the sole judge of the pertinence over the testimony evidence deducted as its hearing. Witness may obtain the transcript copy of the testimony of the witness given in a public session if they are given an executive session when they are authorized by the committee. Alright, supplemental minority and additional dissenting views. At the time of the approval of the measure of the member of the committee with the other than the committee on the rule of the member of the committee give it the notice of the intention of the file of the supplemental minority additional dissenting view for the inclusion of the report of the House of thereon. All members should be entitled to be not less than 2 additional calendar days after the day with such notice excluding the Saturday, Sunday legal holidays except for the House if it is on session on such a day the file such written and signed views including in electronic format with the clerk of the committee. Power to sit and act in subpoena power. For purpose of carrying out any of the function of the duties under the rule and under this rule and Rule 10, including any matter referred to under the Clause 2 of the Rule 12, the committee and subcommittee is authorized subject to the subparagraph 3A to sit and act for the sometimes play within the United States wherever the House if it is in session, recess, adjourned, and to hold such hearings that it consider necessary and required by subpoena otherwise for the attendance of the testimony, such witnesses, production of such books and records, correspondence, memorandum, papers, documents, that is considered necessary. Chair of the committee of other methods designated by the chair may administer oath of witness, except as provided in the subdivision subpoena that may be authorized to issue the committee and subcommittee under subparagraph 1B in the conduct of the investigation under the sphere of the investigation activities only when the authorized committee and subcommittee majority being present, the power authorized to issue the subpoena under the paragraphs 1B with the may be delegated by the chair of the committee under such rule, under such limitation the committee may prescribe. Authorized subpoena shall be signed by the chair by the committee and any other member designated by the committee. In this case, subcommittee with the committee on ethics subpoena may be authorized issued only by the affirmative vote of the majority of the members. Subpoena with the deduced tactum may specify the term of returns other than the meeting of the hearing with the hearing of the committee and the subcommittee authorized for the subpoena. Compliance with the subpoena is issued by the committee subcommittee under the subparagraph 1b, that may be enforced only as authorized and directed by the House. Subpoena for the document testimonies may be issued to any person within either the web of the government, public and private within the United States included, but not limited to President, Vice President, whether the current or former or personal official capacity, as well as the White House Office of the President, the Executive Office of the President, any of the individual currently formerly employed with the White House Office of the President, Executive Office of the President. A committee may adopt the rule of the motion permitting use of electronic voting in accordance with the regulations submitted with the printing of the congressional record with the chair of the committee on the rules and chair of the committee on the House Administration. Each standing committee and the subcommittee thereof shall hold at least one hearing during the 120-day period following the establishment of the committee on the topic of waste, fraud, and abuse or mismanagement of government programs. Where the committee may authorize the hearing described in the subparagraph 1 shall include the focus of the most egregious instances of the waste, fraud, and abuse of mismanagement. The document any of the report of the committee has received the federal office of the Inspector General of the Comptroller General of the United States. Each committee, subcommittee thereon shall hold at least one hearing in any session where the committee have received a disclaimer to any agency financial statements from auditors and any federal agency of the committee that may authorize hear testimony on such disclaimers of the representatives of such agencies. Each standing committee or subcommittee thereof shall hold at least one over the hearing issue of the raise and reports issued by the Comptroller General of the United States and indicating federal programs operation of the committee may authorize the high risk of the waste, fraud, mismanagement known as high risk list, high risk series. Committee on Ethics has the following functions. The committee may be recommended to the House for the time the administrative of the action that may consider it appropriate to establish for the enforced standard of official conduct member, delegated, resident committees, ministers, officers, employees of the House. A letter of approval of the other administrative action of the committee pursuant to the investigation on the subparagraph 2 shall only be the issue of the supplement with the describable report required by subparagraph. The committee may investigate subject with the paragraph B any alleged violation by the member, delegated, the resident commissioner over the officer of the employee with the House of the Code, official conduct, law, rule, regulation of the chain of the conduct applicable to the conduct with the of the member, delegate, resident commissioner, officer, and employee in the performance duty of the discharge of the responsibility of such individual after notice of the hearing, unless for the right of the hearing is waived by the member, delegate, resident commissioner, officer, or employee. The committee shall report to the House its findings and fact recommendations, if any, of the final disposition, any such investigation, such action, if the committee may consider appropriate in circumstances. Or the committee may report to the appropriate federal state authorities, either with the approval of the House or the affirmative of the vote with 2/3 members of the committee with a substantial evidence of violation, member, the delegate, resident commissioner, the officer of the employee with the House, of the law applicable to the performance of the duties, discharge of the responsibility of such individual that may have the disclosure of the committee investigation committee that may consider the request of the member, the delegate, with the resident commissioner, the officer of the employee with the House for an advisory option restrict with the general of the proprietary of any current proposed conduct, such member, the delegate, resident commissioner, officer or employee with an appropriate deletions to ensure the privacy of the person concerned, of the committee, any of the public, such of the opinion of the guidance for the other members of the delegates and resident commissioners, officers, and employees of the House. Committee may consider the request of the member, the delegate, resident commissioner, officer of the employee of the House for the written waiver of the exceptional circumstances with respect to Clause 4, Rule 13. Committee shall offer the annual ethic training to each of the member, the delegate, resident, officer, resident commissioner, officer of the employee of the House. Such training shall involve classes of the employee for the committee to determine such of the training to be appropriate to include such knowledge of the code of the official conduct with related to the House rules as predetermined appropriate by the committee, and a member of the new member, delegate, resident of the administrative officer, employee with the House shall receive the training under the paragraph no later than 60 days after the beginning of the service of the House, no later than January 31st each year. Each member, delegate, resident, commissioner, officer of the employee of the House shall file a certification with the committee with the member, the delegate, resident, commissioner, officer, and employee attended ethics training last year as established by this subparagraph, unless approved by the affirmative of the vote of the majority of the members of the committee on the ethics, may not report a resolution, report, recommendation, advisory opinion relating to the official conduct of the member, delegate, resident, commissioner, officer, employee of the House, except as provided in subparagraph 2, undertaking investigations such conduct. B1, upon receipt information offered with the complaint that is in compliance with this rules and rules of the committee, the chair and the ranking minority member jointly may be may appoint members to serve on the investigative subcommittee. Chairman of the ranking minority member of the committee jointly gather additional information concerning the alleged conduct that is based on the complaint with the information referred as complaint until they have established an investigative subcommittee, either that has them placed on the agenda of the committee that issue, whether the established investigating subcommittee, except in the case of the investigation undertaken with the committee on its own investigation committee may undertake an investigation relating to official conduct with an individual member, delegate, resident, commissioner, officer, and employee of the House only. Upon receipt of information offered if the complaint writing under oath from a member, delegate, resident, commissioner transmitted to the committee by such a member, delegate, resident, commissioner. Upon receipt information offered as a complaint in writing under oath from a person not member, delegate, resident, commissioner provided with a member of the delegate, resident, commissioner certifies to the writing committee that such a member, the delegate, resident, commissioner believes information is submitted in good faith and warrants a review and consideration of the committee, or C. Upon receipt of the report regarding a referral from the board over the Office of the Congress Ethics, if the complaint is not disposed of within the applicable period set forth with the rules of the committee ethics, the chair of the rank of the minority members shall establish jointly an investigative subcommittee for the complaint, any portion thereof, the subcommittee for its consideration. However, if at any time during those periods either chair or ranking minority member places over the agenda of the issue with the established investigation subcommittee, the investigation subcommittee may be established only by an affirmative vote of the majority of the members of the committee. The committee may not undertake the investigation. Alleged violation of the law, rule, regulation, standard conduct was in effect for the time of the alleged violation. The committee shall not undertake the investigation. Such alleged violation occurred before the third previous Congress unless the committee determines that the alleged violation is directly related to the alleged violation that occurred in one or more recent Congresses. A member of the committee shall have been ineligible to participate with a member of the committee in committee proceedings relating to the member's official conduct whenever the member of the committee is ineligible to act as a member of the committee under the preceding sentence. The Speaker shall designate a member, delegate, resident, commissioner from the same political party as ineligible member to act any of the preceding committee relating to this conduct. Alright, 5. A member of the committee may seek with a disqualification, participation, investigation of the conduct member, delegate, resident, commissioner, officer, or employee of the House upon submission of the writing under the oath of an affidavit. The disqualifying statement of the member cannot render the impartial and unbiased decision in the case which the member seeks to be disqualified. In the committee appointed to accept such affidavit of disqualification, the chair shall notify the Speaker of the request. Speaker to designate the member, delegate, resident, commissioner from the same political party qualifying the member to act any proceeding of the committee relating to this case. Information on the testimony received, the content of the complaint, or the fact of the filing may not be publicly disclosed to any committee staff member unless specifically authorized in each instance by a vote of the full committee. The committee shall have the functions designated in Title 1 and 5 of the Ethics Government Act of 1978, Section 7342, 7351, 7353 of Title 5 U.S. Standard Code in Clause 11G4 of Rule 10, subdivided in Subdivision B, C, and D no later than 455 calendar days, or 5 legislative days, which are later after the recipient written report, any finding of the support documentation regarding referral of the Board of Office of Congressional Ethics, the referral of the matter of the Board, pursuant to the request of the under paragraph, the chair of the Committee of the Ethics shall be public written report finding Board unless the chair of the ranking member act jointly to settle the committee votes to withhold such information in more than one additional period with the same duration, which the case chair shall, upon termination such additional period, public written report and findings upon day of the decision vote of the public statement of the matter, letting referral made by the board official congressional ethics regarding member, delegate, resident, commissioners, officer, of the employee of the House who is subject to applicable referral has been extended. At least one calendar day before the committee makes a public any written report findings for the board, chair shall notify such board of the applicable member, delegate, resident, commissioner, officer, or employee of the fact that it transmits such individual copy of the statement of the committee's disposition of the in-committee report on the matter. Notwithstanding subdivision A1 of the committee vote to dismiss for the matter, whichever the subject of the referral of the Board of Office of Congressional Ethics of the committee is not required to make of the public and written report finding the discrepancy of such subdivision unless the committee votes inconsistent with the recommendation of the board for purpose of the previous sentence of vote with by the committee of the dismiss of the matter and not inconsistent with the reports of the board with respect to the matter is unresolved due to the tie vote. Notwithstanding the subdivision A2, if the board transmits a report respecting any of the matter recommendation dismissed unresolved due to a tie vote. The matter is extended with additional period as provided in subdivision A, but the committee is not required a public statement that the matter has been extended, except for those provided in subdivision E. If the committee establishes an investigative subcommittee respecting any such matter, then the report findings of the board shall not be made public until the conclusion of the investigation subcommittee process. Of the committee shall issue public statement of the establishment of the investigating subcommittee, which statement shall include the name of the applicable member, delegate, resident, commissioner, officer, employee, and shall set forth the allegation violation. If any such investigation subcommittee does not conclude its review within 1 year after the board transmits a report respecting any member of the committee, shall make a public report upon the expiration of the Congress with the report is made publicly. The committee shall make the public any findings after the receipt of the written report and findings supporting documentation regard referral to the board office of the congressional ethics referral of the matter from the board pursuant to the request under the paragraph R of the committee agree with the request and appropriate law enforcement regulatory authority to defer to taking action on the matter. Notwithstanding A1, committee is not required to make public written report findings for the described the subdivision except in recommendation of board with respect to the report. The matter requires further review. Committee shall make the public written report, but not findings too before the end of the first day of the excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and public holidays. After the day the committee agrees to make the request, the committee shall make a public statement in the deferring taking action on the matter request such authority if upon the expiration of 1 year period that begins with the day the committee makes a public statement that describes the item the committee has not acted on the matter. The committee shall make the new public statement that's still deferring the taking action on the matter shall make the new statement that upon the expiration of each succeeding 1 year period during the committee has not been acted on. Shit. The committee may not receive any referral from the Board of Office of Congressional Ethics within 60 days of the federal, state, local election with the subject of the referral of the candidate committee may delay any of the reporting requirement under this subparagraph follows within 60-day period until the end of the such period. This gave for the purpose of subdivision A, but the days within the 60-day period shall not be counted if at all the close applicable period of the reporting requirement or in subparagraph with respect to the referral from the board official congressional ethics vote of the committee as a tie with the committee failed for the report of the findings of the board which made public by the committee and along with a public statement by the chair explaining the status of the matter. Wherever the member, delegate, or the resident commissioner is indicted or otherwise formally charged with criminal conduct in the court of the United States and state committee on ethics no later than 30 days after the date of such indictment or charge. And a panel investigation subcommittee to review the allegations submit a report to the House describing the reason and not impaling such investigation subcommittee together with the actions if any of the committee has taken the responsibility of the allegations. Alright, notwithstanding Clause 2G1 rule, each meeting of the Committee on Ethics Subcommittee, there shall occur with the executive session unless the committee and subcommittee affirmative vote with the majority of the members of the open of the meeting of the public. Notwithstanding Clause 2G2 of the Rule 11, that each of the judiciary subcommittee sanctioned hearing on the Committee of Ethics should be held open session unless the committee subcommittee is open session by an affirmative vote with the majority of the members. Close all and part of the remainder of the hearing on the day with the public before the member of the officer employed with the Committee on Ethics, including the members of the subcommittee selected under Clause 5A of the Rule 10 shared stuff may be to have the access to information confidential under the rules of the committee. The following oath and affirmation shall be executed. I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will not disclose any person and need outside of the Committee on Ethics any information received on the course of my service with the committee except the authorized by the committee on the accordance with the rules. Copies of the executed oath shall be retained with the clerk as part of the records of the House. Paragraphs established standards of the conduct with the meaning of the paragraph A2 of the breach of confidential should be investigated by the Committee on Ethics. Appropriated action should be taken if the compliant information offered with the complaint deemed frivolous. Affirmation vote of the majority of the members over the committee ethics committee may take with such action an affirmative vote with the majority of the members' consideration of apparition circumstance complaints filed on before 105th Congress may not be deemed frivolous by the committees on ethics. Alright, committee agendas. Committee shall adopt the rules provided by the chair shall establish the agenda of the meetings from the committee, but the budget shall not preclude ranking minority member from placing any item on the agenda. Committee staff shall adopt the rules of providing, and the staff shall be assembled to retain the professional non-partisan staff. That each member staff shall be the professional with the demonstrated qualified for the position for which hired. Staff of the whole, each member of the staff shall perform all official duties in a non-partisan manner. No member of the staff shall engage in any partisan political activity directly affecting any congressional presidential election. No member of the staff without staff of the council of the main staff of the public speaking engagement, written publication, any subject that is anything whether related to employment of the duties of the committee, such of an individual, no specific prior approval from the chair of the ranking minority member. F. No member of the staff without staff of the council may make public unless approved with the affirmative vote of the majority of the members committee with any information, document, or the material confidential derived from an executive session classified that they obtained during the course of an employment with the committee. Only subdivision C, E, and F, the subparagraph 1 shall apply to shared staff. All staff members shall be appointed with the affirmative vote of the majority of the members committee. Such vote shall occur first meeting of the membership of the committee during each Congress, each and necessary during the Congress. Subject to approval of the committee, House Administration Committee may retain with the council not employed with the House Representative of the web of the community, where the committee determines an affirmative vote of the majority of members of the committee, then retain outside counsel necessary appropriate. If the committee determines retain staff member for the purpose of the particular investigation of the proceeding, such staff shall be retained only for the duration of the particular investigation of the proceeding. Outside counsel may be dismissed for the end of the contract between the committee with the such conflict only affirmative vote with a majority of the members of the committee. In addition, any of their staff will provide the law, rule, other authority, respect for the committee and the chair of the ranking minority member, each of the appointment of the individual as the shared staff member with the respect for the personal staff of the chair, ranking minority member that will form service for the committee, shared staff with the may assist the chair of the ranking of the minority member on the subcommittee with which the chair of the ranking minority member serves. Meetings and hearings of the committee shall adopt rules providing that all meetings and hearings of the committee and any subcommittee thereof, the other hearing held by a junctionary subcommittee, any sanctioned hearing held, committee shall occur with the executive session other than unless committee and the subcommittee by an affirmative vote of the majority in public open meeting and a hearing to the public. Any hearing held by a adjudicatory committee and sanctioned hearing held by the committee shall open the public unless the committee and subcommittee and affirmative vote of the majority of the members close the public hearing public. We're going to cut the tape there. A public disclosure.